Good morning. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 4 of the latest thread, and we're so excited that you're able to join us again. This morning, we're going to talk about what we've been up to. A lot of us are still under stay-at-home orders, and so our plans due to that have been changed. So we've now have the opportunity to work on things that we didn't think we would get to at any point soon. So let's chat a little bit about that. Karen Sievert, what you've been up to?
Oh, golly gee willikers. I thought because I was home more that I would have, all kinds of projects that I would be belting out, right? I would just be whipping this out and whipping that out. And I have found that since I've been home, I've actually been busier in some senses than if I was just kind of going back and forth. First and foremost, I would probably have to say that I am really it has hit home that I am really, really, really proud to be a member of the quilting community. So many quilters and other sewers have come together to make personal facial covers. And this is not the first time that quilters have come together to do something special. We have Quilts of Valor and, the Linus Project and different things like that. And it just seems anytime something comes up, quilters are the ones, or one of the ones that really step up to the plate. So I don't know. I just, sometimes, it just makes you feel good to be part of that community. So I've been making personal facial covers and dreaming about doing some other things once I'm done with that. How about you, Sharon? What have you been working on?
Well, business as usual for sure. Finishing up some custom quilts, and we're still long arming every day for our customers. And also at the same time, like you said, busier than ever. It's kind of crazy. You would think, oh, we've got this extra time, but for those of us that part of our job is teaching quilting with all of the cancellations of the larger events, that means we had to become more creative and find other ways to get those classes out there. So working with Gamble and as well working on our own to develop content to make available online. So that's keeping us very, very busy. Karen Marchetti, how about you?
Very simple. I've never been so busy. But it's more of, it's the same busy, just turned to a different direction. So yeah, I'm trying to turn some of my in-person classes into online possibilities, and which involves lots of uploading and downloading. So I'm actually doing hand applique while I'm waiting for all that uploading and downloading. So yeah, pretty much it's just a transition, trying to figure out how to get everything out there to the other quilters. So.
Well, you seem to be really good at multitasking.
Well, waiting for uploads is not very exciting. I did do
but you're making good use of your time.
I can't sit still ever. So, Jody?
Mostly the same as well, trying to work on getting classes, kind of turned over into an online thing. And then, of course, last week, my son who lives in Denver called, and they have to wear a mask when they go out. And, Mom, I don't have any masks. So I spent a few days making masks. I'm not making a volume of masks because that is so not my kind of sewing at all. And yeah, I also thought I would have all kinds of time, and, it's not really happening. Mm-hmm. So definitely busy, that's for sure. Ava, how about you?
Well, a little bit of what you guys have mentioned, what Karen Sievert said about just the anticipation of having extra time and thinking you can get to some of those projects. And so far, for a variety of reasons, that hasn't happened yet, because I'm also trying to still work on customer quilts. trying to get more familiar with some of the online things we have to do. There's a lot, but it's all, new things. And at the same time, also, what I've been trying to do, because I can't see any of my grandchildren, so we've been doing a lot of FaceTime, trying to stay in touch with family at the same time. Because so many things have changed. It was my granddaughter Zoe's birthday yesterday. She turned 9. She lives out in Seattle. But anyhow, they set up a little tent out front. People were driving by with cars and balloons and made her day super special. So it makes you realize, how this has affected us in many different ways. But there's a lot of positive though that comes out of it, whether it's our own personal growth with what we have to learn in order to adapt, to these situations, just many different things.
Mhm.
So, but I'm hoping to get to some of those projects. I hope I don't run out of time. So if you have anything you want to share with us, don't forget to go on the Facebook groups, hashtag the latest thread. We'd love to hear from you also. Just want to mention that, as well as topics. So we'll take a break, and then when we come back, then we're going to talk about our favorite gadgets. So he can look forward to see what that could be.
Hey guys, we are here at Gamma Studios and we are talking table height and why it's important for different applications in your quilting. I have the table set at the highest position, which is right under my chest, which is comfortable for me right now because I'm doing detailed work. This way, when I'm doing tiny little fills and tiny little stitches, my field of view is perfect. There's nothing in my way. I'm not bent down. I'm not leaning, looking under the light bar. Everything is right here. And I'm actually, some of you are going to cringe, I'm leaning on my belly bar with my arms. I usually hold my handles right about at this level because I'm doing tiny little detail work. So it's more of a matter of just, I'm barely moving my arms. I'm using the belly bar for control and I'm just moving my hands slightly. So this raised all the way up is where I do my tiny detail stitching.
And the reason I like mine to be so high is because I do a lot of ruler work. I don't want to be looking down on the ruler. I kind of want to be looking at the ruler, I guess, so I can see the markings. I can tell if it's lined up, straight. And it just works better for me. I don't want to have to lean to look way down here, and I don't want to have to try to, have to look back here. So this just works best for me. And I do generally hold on to the handles pretty tight when I'm doing ruler work because I just want to be sure that I'm in total control. I don't want to have any accidents with the ruler. And so that's the height that works good for me.
I also feel that because the belly bar rests right at my chest, for me, because as you can see, I wear glasses, and so therefore the field of vision is for me the most important one. I want to use my elbows. I also use it for rulers, or it doesn't really matter because even for detailed small quilting, I want to be able to look ahead. And if the frame is at the right height, I don't even have to worry about the light bar or anything else because I'm essentially not looking at what I'm quilting right here. I want to be able to look ahead and still have that control. So I'm using the elbows and it works really well. Okay, welcome back. So, as promised, we're now going to talk about our favorite gadgets, and we put a little array together. And I think Sharon is going to share her screen. So, and then we'll talk about them.
Okay, I will share my screen, and here we go. So they're in alphabetical order, and I believe that Ava is first because that's the closest to A, isn't it?
I guess B would come after A, but
And
yes.
then whenever you're ready, I'll just scroll to the next picture for you.
Okay, so these are two chalk markers that I come to like, and these are by Soline. And what I like about them, they come in white and blue because they are a little bit thicker than for instance, the Bowen really super fine chalk markers. And I like to use them for obviously precision, but also if I'm marking with a stencil, because they fit nicely in those spaces and they don't break off as easily as the thinner ones. And again, those are by Soline. The only drawback on those is that they're not refillable, unlike some of the other ones. But, that's also reflected in the price. So they also come off quite easily, the markings do, with a micro fiber cloth or something like that. And of course, if you wash your quilt. So even the blue does. So love those.
Yeah.
Ava, you just did a Facebook Live all about marking tools, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
So you can check on that. It's listed on the GMO Quilting Facebook group or page on the video section. And there's more marking tools we talk about. Thank you, Sharon. And I like this little 6-inch ruler because I like to use rulers for a lot of things, but whether it's stitch in the ditch, or I like to use a ruler to guide my foot around applique shapes. So the size is perfect and it allows me, to not stitch into the appliques. And for me, the reference points on the ruler are also important because about precision, you want to make sure I want to make sure I line up the horizontal lines with the seam line and then use the vertical lines, for measurement. So I don't have in a small area to mark every line. I can just rely on the etchings of the ruler.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you can see it here, that everyone has a different size hole, which is intended for the different marking tools. So if you want to get an accurate drawing, if you're trying out a new template that you're going to figure out a design, then these are great to either draw with a pencil or with your blue or purple marker. So I love those. Okay.
Oh, this is mine. So this is one thing that I use a lot. And they're called spacing guides, and it's hard to see in the picture, but they have little dots at different increments. And the reason I like them so much is because I'm not a math person. So if you go to the next picture, Sharon, you can see, so just as an example, because it's hard to explain how you use them, but like if I have that square and I want to divide it up to stitch that design that's down in the right-hand corner, then you can just line it up. I mean, and just pick which holes. And to me, I do it by eye. Oh yeah, this looks like far enough apart, and then I'll put a little tick mark using those holes. They're evenly spaced and you can just stitch and not have to think. Although sometimes if I'm doing multiple blocks and I use them, then I'll write down which holes I used and which one.
And Jody, they do range in,
You get 6 different ones. So they're all spaced differently. There's always that line that the dots are on, so you can easily line it up.
Cool tool.
And then this I use all the time too. Like, when you're quilting a quilt and you get done and you see those dark threads under the light fabric. I do have another little thing that's actually made for quilting, but I find I prefer this little tiny crochet hook to it because the other one's really sharp at the end and it gets tangled like in the batting and stuff, where the crochet hook has a blunt end, so it doesn't get like buried into the batting and don't have a hard time grabbing the thread. You can just poke it right through the weave of the fabric, grab a hold of your thread and pull it right out.
That's a great tool. I think we probably all use that, especially those who quilt for other people, It
Oh, I
happens.
don't worry about other people's. That's their problem. But
Well,
You can
If
send
they
them a
can
link
share
and where to
the
buy
thread,
it.
I can't help that.
moving on.
And this really, it kind of isn't a tool or a gadget, but it really is. So this little wooden box thing, I got it at IKEA. It was super inexpensive. Like, I don't know, I want to say like $14 or $15. And I put all my bobbin stuff in there, but wound bobbins, they're organized by kind. But if you go to the next picture, next one. So inside one drawer, I have this little tub thing, and I put all the ones that need emptied out. There's only a little bit left. And then that other picture, then I can just shut the door, the
Oh
drawer,
my
and put
gosh.
all the threads and just empty them. And they just stay in that thing, and they don't, sometimes before I would have to be chasing them across the room and stuff to,
That
it
is
works great.
genius.
Yeah.
It really is.
Works really good. It's very loud when you're doing it, but it works well.
I put mine on a little nail that my husband put a handle on, and I just spin them off of the nail.
That would
But
work
I like
too.
your idea. They do stay contained.
Yeah, it's nice.
All right, that would be my picture, and I did a ruler and the marker. It's no secret that I absolutely love to do ruler work, and I'm a very traditional quilter. So I always have my straight edge ruler and at least one curved ruler in an apron that I wear, as well as a couple of different marking tools. And I absolutely love the Soline water dissolvable marker. And the reason is because it has a roller ball on it instead of a felt tip. So when you use the felt tip marker, what happens is as you're making multiple passes with the felt tip marker, that felt tip is kind of getting squished down. And so you'll find that you start with a very fine line, but after you use the marker for a little bit, the line keeps getting thicker and thicker and thicker. And what I like about the Soline line one is that I'm consistently getting the same size marks. I am one of those, I'm a huge fan of pre-marking your quilt tops. I will tell you all with absolute conviction that the seam ripper is not my favorite gadget. I actually hide it in my sewing room, hoping that if I don't know where it's at, I won't use it. So in order to avoid using the seam ripper, many times I will go ahead and mark a crosshatch or something else, because it's a whole lot easier to take a mark out than it is to take a line of stitching out, especially because when I do ruler work, I'm usually up around 16 stitches per inch. So those are my two favorite gadgets outside of my quilting machine, which obviously none of these things would work if I didn't have that.
That's me. I also am a no math person, and this is an expanding sewing gauge, which originally was for spacing buttonholes, that kind of thing. But I use it, and I use it with zero math. So if you go to the next picture, Sharon. So in this example, now when you open the expanding gauge up, it's got like 8 prongs, but I just stretch it until it's between the 2 points that I want to create equal spaces. So you can see here, I have it on the end of this little border sample, and I have it just about 1/4 of an inch from the corner because that's where I want my design element to end. So when I'm breaking up big borders, yeah, I never measure. I do half and then half of half and then half of half. And then by that time I can fit my sewing gauge to divide up my space. So that's my favorite thing because I don't have to think. I just have to stretch it out till it lands where I want it to.
I love those. I don't have one though. Mhm.
I don't either.
I just got one. I didn't even know what they were until Karen Marchetti showed me, and I had to have one. So I ordered one, and I've used it a couple times already. So it is really handy.
No
Uh,
math required.
So this is my favorite straight edge ruler. I prefer a ruler that's a little bit wider. So this one is 3 inches wide and 9 inches long. And I do prefer one that is a little bit wider so that I can hold my hand flat on the ruler instead of having my hand up like this. I just find that after a lot of ruler work, I don't get the same ache and fatigue in my hand as when I do when I'm able to keep my hand more flat. So I like that. As well as it's got the 45 and 60-degree markings. I think yours did too, Ava, which are really handy when you want to do some cross hatching because you can line up those angled lines with the seam in the block or any other straight marking and get either a square cross hatch or a diamond cross hatch with 60-degree. I also like that it has opposing markings, so not just markings going along the length of the ruler, but it has the perpendicular markings too that help me know where to stop when I'm getting into a corner because I can line up one of those lines with a seam and then I can stop exactly a 1/2 inch or 1/4 of an inch or so away from a landing point kind of thing. So that's my favorite straight edge ruler. And you know, the more comfortable you get with rulers, the more you'll be able to understand all of the markings. I think when people start, they're intimidated by buying a ruler with lots and lots of markings. It looks busy, it looks intimidating, I don't know what to do with them. But I find the more markings you have on your ruler, the less you need to mark your quilt. And I don't mark my quilt as much as some others do. So I rely on my tools for that, doing that part of my job. And then these two rulers are from the same maker. But what I love about them is that the arc is the same on the outside of the curve as it is on the inside of the curve. So it doesn't matter where I am in my hopping foot, where my ruler where I need to stitch. I can move my ruler from one side of the hopping foot to the other and still get the exact same arc so that it's more comfortable for me. And most curved rulers, you know, they're a circle, but the outside is a bigger arc than the inside. So it would change if you tried to use it on both sides. So, and it also has the increment markings in it so that I use these for curve cross hatching all the time. Because of that nice arc, I can use it on both sides. Handy. And my other favorite tool, 2 of them, there's my Gamel sitting there, all proud. But what I love about, in this picture, what I love about one of the tools that Gamel has provided us is the quilt clips. And those are the black clips that go across the belly bar. I just pulled this quilt off the frame last night. And I normally, when I'm custom quilting, will base absolutely everything all the way through. And in this one, because her piecing was pretty straight, I didn't. But I used my channel locks to stitch in the ditch all the way down, and I religiously used the quilt clamps on the belly bar. And when I got to the bottom of that quilt, it was perfectly straight all the way across. So I have, there's just a little close-up of them so you can see what they're called and how they fit onto that belly bar.
Well, and those quilt clips, you know, the way you're showing them, you know, that's for everyone that likes floating their
Yes.
quilt tops in order to still have control over, you know, where, you know, about keeping the quilt square, you know.
Yeah, keeping it square, but also preventing the center of the quilt from being sucked up when you're doing your passive quilting across the quilt. but I had never used them before for doing custom, and this was a test. Like I said, quilt was really straight already, so it was fairly easy to keep straight. But it saved me all of the work of completely basting everything through. I was really happy with how it turned out. How I can depend. I think that's it. That's our last picture.
Great example.
All right. Well, there were some cool gadgets there.
Yeah.
I even made a note of something I want to order for myself.
Well, there you go. You know,
Yeah,
because we all prefer different things, that we like using. So we can learn from one another and
for
pick up
sure.
a tip or two.
Yeah.
So I think that's all we have for today. I hope you guys picked something useful and up in this segment. Again, just a reminder, don't forget to post any topics that you would like for us to talk about on any of the Facebook groups. Remember to use the hashtag latest thread. And then we hope to see you again next time. Stay well.
Bye, y'all. Take care.